And if I don't see something immediately for a song, I'll move on to another song. And then if I sleep on it over a few days, something will click. If something is not clicking at all, I generally ask for like a reference. Because like, not a reference for like, hey, this is what the song should sound like. It's just like, what inspired you to write this? Just make it very much about like storytelling, I guess. That's generally what...
So it's not like a... Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a sonic thing. It's a inspiration.
So when I'm creating, like, yeah, when I feel like I'm creating for myself, it is a sonic thing. I'm not thinking harmony. I'm not thinking songwriting. I'm just doing sound design and then being inspired by that sound. And that's a very different way to do it, but I can't do that with an artist who's already written a song, and I kind of have to follow like the lyrics and there's a story. It's much more challenging to do that. But at the same time, it's a lot more limiting because like you can't change the song so much that the songwriter doesn't connect with it, at all. And sometimes that does happen. And like being a producer for me is like really like subduing your ego and trying to bring the vision of the artist. Like, I mean, I feel that that's why people hire me. It's not like, hey,
yeah, of course,
I want you to make a song and I'm going to sing on it. It's never like that for me.
So what do? You send them like a couple, do you send them like, this is an idea of where we can go with this track, and they either approve it, don't approve it?
Yeah. I'll just do like thumbnail sketches, like short, like 20-second blips of just like texture and like, if they have a setup where like it's just like they can record their vocals separately, I'll ask them to do that, and then I'll just like rehum and like, just create something like a demo just using their vocals.
Yeah.
If not, I mean, I generally call them into a studio and create that just like separate vocal. And it stays in like a demo stage for a long time, and because I'm generally working with really small budgets, I have to be really certain before I step into the studio to record all the final parts. Like there's generally no leeway to kind of redo stuff, So we kind of do...
So you base like MIDI and you have to do like MIDI stuff like until you're ready to...
Yeah, tons of MIDI stuff and like DI guitars and then all of that gets replaced at the studio generally.
Nice. Do you want to talk about mixing?
Absolutely.
I mean, stuff like you sent me sounds awesome.
That's something like super therapeutic to me. It's like cleaning my house, which I mean, my girlfriend probably will throw a shoe at me because I should probably clean my house a lot more.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like making sense of chaos, and that's just life, right? That's just like just swimming through entropy and like trying to like make sense of like just chaos. Yeah. I mean, that's how I see mixing, and like there's something really emotional about mixing for me. A lot of my peers and a lot of the ad mixing guys are just doing it for clarity because they're trying to make it translate on like televisions, which just sound terrible compared to like monitors or headphones.
Of course.
So there's a whole train of thought in India where like we're mixing for TV and it's not like trying to get like character or like color or emotion. You're just trying to make everything as legible as possible,
Right.
And I guess that's what kind of set this new breed of mix engineer in India, because like there are tons of people in my generation who just don't want to do ad music. They just want to make music, and like they're listening to like Bonobo or like, just artists from around the world. So they're not following that like super bright, clean sound. They're just like creating emotion in it now. And that's something I follow and I love to follow,
Yeah. Do you have a philosophy for mixing in terms of like how you set up a mix, in the box, out of the box?
I unfortunately... So I track with a lot of outboard gear at the studio. I try to like just get like as much color in when I'm tracking, when I'm producing. Generally no compression while tracking, because I find that it's kind of hard to undo. I do like, I mean, like a dB of compression sometimes on certain elements, or like I record a lot of parallel compression, like with distressors or 1176s. Because I really like the sound of like hardware compression compared to digital compression
in the box.
I mean, I do love the UA stuff. I love the Acoustica stuff. That stuff has made it a lot easier to stay in the box. And because I'm dealing with like smaller budgets for the independent music stuff, I generally have to stay in the box for a while, because otherwise I just have to keep going back to the studio, hiring the studio, and like doing changes there, and it kind of gets expensive for the artist.
So when you're doing indie artists, you're doing a lot of the work at home, just like
absolutely,
like
yeah. We do tons of pre-production at home. We had a rehearsal space at the studio that's now been converted into a post room, because I mean gigs have really, there's just no gigs happening, so there's not much room for rehearsals. So, but there's tons of like TV and film work happening, and we needed like an Atmos certified like production space. So that's been converted into that. But we'd go to the rehearsal room to like just try out ideas and record demos and like do variations and stuff and kind of like lock on parts. Tons of work at home for indie stuff. But like generally
are you mixing at home on like headphones even?
Man, LCD-Xs like saved my life. Odyssey, like planar magnetics in general. Like I live in a rented apartment, and like I move apartment every 2 years. So like it's tough to like treat your house if you're on rent, you know. So I just found like headphones are really useful. Like obviously there are massive pitfalls, like getting crosstalk. So there is a system in place. Like I go to the studio, I set my balance up on real speakers, like, and that's locked. Like once my faders are at that point, like unless I'm doing like gain automation or something, I find myself like setting a balance and then not changing that. Like I'm just working with EQ and compression post that. And that is something I can do on the LCDs. Like, and I've been using the Odysseys for like, I think 2 years now. So it's taken me a long time to figure them out. You know, so a lot of the music I did send you, a lot of it predominantly mixed on headphones, and then like final mix pass at the studio.
So interesting.
Yeah, it's because
so
I can't afford to like have a good setup or go to the studio, and I'd love to just mix purely in the studio. The film stuff is all in the studio because there are budgets for that. You know, like producing in the studio, like just doing the right tones from the get-go, like creating the right synth patch, so much easier. Like so much easier. It takes a lot less time as well.
Well, you guys like have ATCs in there or some crazy.
Oh, we have Questeds, 212s. So they're not like as prolific.
Those are like
they're just like they'll chop someone's head off. Like they're the loudest speakers I've ever heard in my life, but the most accurate, like 37 hertz I've ever heard. Like it was just crazy, man. Like it was designed by this Frenchman called Didier Weiss. Lives in India, like has designed some incredible multi-million-dollar studios for like Bollywood film composers and stuff like that. And he blew our minds. Like I've never heard a room better than that. Like, and we've had like Grammy award-winning engineers come down and work in there and kind of tell us like, hey, this is like on par with some really good studios. And I'm like, wow, I'm so lucky to work here.
That is awesome. I feel like you do need that stuff for film because, like, you know, people are going to watch it in the theater and they want to have that rumble, and you know,
it is
like you need to have that stuff on point. For film.
And like, I mean, the final mix is even like it gets mixed in Atmos, so like the final mixes do happen in like massive cinema-sized rooms, and
wow,
that is the eye opener, or rather the ear opener, because stuff is played back at such loud volumes. If you make a mistake, that mistake is scaled like tenfold. So like you have to be so diligent as an engineer, or you know, as a producer, I guess, in the film world. And like in the commercial world, like I'll be mixing into like bus compression a lot, but in working in film you can't really do that because you're giving stems. Like things are working in Atmos, you know, things need to sound really good as individual stems, and that has been a game changer for me as a mix engineer as well. You know?
Wow.
Yeah, and I remember
you don't rely on the stereo bus nearly as much.
Oh my god, you can't. Like it's just like just when I figured like I can do a professional mix in like 3 hours, and then we get this film job, and it's like just breaking my head because all the tricks I use for like, you know, a stereo mix is just not gonna work, man. And like, yeah, it's tough. It's really tough, but it's nice to keep learning new stuff, I guess. It's exciting.
So
like
yeah,
we're just about to start composing in Atmos as well. Because like we realized because the format is so different, we actually have to EQ a lot less while composing for immersive sound because things can be spread across. There's not so much masking, and that's
right.
It's just going to be so much fun. Like
so it's actually like leaving things alone a lot more.
Exactly. And like
letting the full richness of the tone, like less filtering, less compression.
Which is exciting, man. It's really exciting.
That is really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if someone's in a movie theater, like you already have their undivided attention.
Exactly.
You don't have to compete with volume. You don't have to compete for any of that stuff.
And in a Dolby Atmos system, like I didn't know this, but in a surround system, your surround rears are filtered. Like they do filter out low end, but in an Atmos system, everything is full range. So every speaker can reproduce 20 hertz to 20K. In a good Atmos room. So I've been told, or the ones that we mix in have, a setup that way. So you realize, man, like we've been killing too much sub information in like the commercial stereo mixes, to make things fit and to make things loud. But in film, like it's just like leaving the low end alone, like sending stuff to the LFE.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's a very different mindset. And we get shouted at by like the senior engineers all the time. They're like, where's my 24 hertz, man? Why'd you get rid of that? And we're like, dude, you don't need that. And he's like, yeah, you do. And he's right.
That's super, super interesting.
Yeah.
So film music, I guess, doesn't get mastered then.
It does get mastered, I believe, in a very different way. They're dealing with just a lot of channels. Like multi-output reverbs is another thing. Man, wow, that stuff is amazing. It sounds incredible though. Like just using like something like Stratus 3D, like whew. So one of the last few films we did was actually mixed at Abbey Road Studio in their brand new Atmos studio. And
oh my God.
Yeah, and man, the mix that came back was incredible. Like incredible.
That must feel amazing.
Yeah,
I feel like Abbey Road is that's the pinnacle for me.
Exactly.
Like I went to England and I just paid homage by walking outside of Abbey Road, and I was like, okay,
it was just kind of.
I'll probably never get in there, but one day maybe.
No, man, I'm rooting for you. Like I hope to work with you one day.
Same, yeah.
And we will work at Abbey Road. Like one of the engineers at the studio at Island City actually studied at Abbey Road at their institute. So like, it's possible. Like the world seems a lot smaller, I guess. Like. Let's do this, Ben. Let's make a plan. We'll meet.
All right, I'm down.
Meet at Abbey Road.
Let's meet at Abbey Road.
Yeah.
Nice. You'll have to lay over here in Israel, so it's on the way.
I'd love to come. Yeah. Once COVID is done, that is.
Israelis love India. Like the Israelis are like always traveling to India.
Oh yeah, man.
There's some sort of connection. There's some connection there. I don't know what it is.
There must be. I mean, there must be.
That's super cool. It's so cool to get a glimpse into what like real film composing and engineering is all about. Like, it's so different.
All my experience is like Bollywood film, man. I'm sure there's like different practices and different workflows in the West as well, People do tend to cut corners in like ADR and like just like location sound. India is known for redubbing everything pretty much. That's just it's a nightmare. Like they just won't track audio at a film set with the notion of like, hey, this is final sound. They'll always track it with like, hey, this is going to be redubbed later, so it doesn't matter if it's distorted. So while we're composing, we're just dealing with like distorted dialogue the whole time. It's very painful. So we generally just ask for subtitles and like turn the dialogue off. Kind of just look at the lips and like try to compose in the spaces and stuff.
My gosh.
But again, things are changing. People are like really trying to do a good job at like sync sound level as well.
What's something that you've learned from film scoring that you've like applied to regular just music? Well,
that's a tough one. I think it's about like space. It's about creating space. I think humans are scared of space. And I feel like as like when you're creating like a song, you're trying to fill a lot of space to keep it engaging. Yeah, it's like when you're composing for film, you're not supposed to be visible. You're supposed to be invisible almost, and like your job is completely, your role is different and you're composing in that way. It's like you're trying to engage the audience but not grab their attention too much. But while I'm producing for a song, it's like all about